Again, once again, we're gonna go through all the new features that we're gonna introduce in that pack and discuss them and what was our reasoning behind them and what we're gonna do with them. So let's start right off the bat. So as you can see, the home screen kind of changed a bit. So we're introducing the castle themes. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, we're introducing actually, if I'm not mistaken, there should be 5 castle themes that are available in the castle heart. So 3 of them are part of the randomization process that gets assigned to your castle. So we're opening up that possibility for you to go and assign the one that you want onto your castle. And then there's 2 that are a little bit more special. One has a darker undertone with a change of ambience. You can see a little bit of smoke, a little bit darker. Has a darker feel to it, and the other one has like some gold inlays, and these are some basically the skins that once you apply them, they will actually affect every single room in your castle, from the entrance to the boss room.
All right, so we got this 5-1. Are we gonna pay for them in blinks? Yes, right.
Yes, that's correct.
So do you know how many blinks do we pay for each? Or?
Yes, so the 3 that I mentioned earlier are going to be 475 blinks, and the other 2, so the cryptic and the one with the gold inlays, are going to be 975 blinks.
All right, so we got that. So another thing we can see is the machineries have been moved to the treasure room as well. So
yeah, that's right.
So
it's actually a preparatory move. So we took all the machineries that used to be located in the boss room, and we've put them a little bit tighter, closer together in the treasure room. And the reason that we're doing that is starting the pack 18, so the pack after this one, we're going to be introducing some themes that will have a more drastic change on the boss room.
So they'll be more epic.
That's
stuff
right.
Like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, all right, good for that. So let's dive right in with something that we presented already and that had a strong reaction on the forums. The players had a strong reaction to them, so the camera rotation and the minimap.
Yeah, so in this pack actually we're introducing camera rotation during the attack. This is, so there's 2 ways to rotate the camera. You can either click on it from the attack HUD. There's little arrows that make it rotate 90 degrees left to right, or you can use the keyboard shortcut. So the reason that we've decided to implement the camera rotation, there were actually a lot of castles when you reach a certain level that are being built what we call upside down, or inverted, if you will, which basically take advantage of the fact that the attacker cannot see to a certain distance, and so attackers would get pulled off of screen by Scorpios, or get shot at by threats that he could not see nor properly react to. So by giving the possibility to rotate the camera, we should be opening up new possibilities for layouts for the defenders. It is, however, I do want to stress that it's a first step in implementation. So what that means is we're still working on it. We do want to address the fact that you can see through walls, and it is possible to rotate the camera and get it just a certain angle to kind of see behind a wall and see some unaggroed creatures. So we are experimenting with a fog of war. It's something that's a little bit more complicated technically, so we want to make sure to get it right, and something we're working on.
All right, but so another concern with those 2 features was that it will basically make labyrinth type castles useless. That's what players said.
Well, I hope not. I think to a certain extent it's going to make them a little bit less dominant than they are right now. But our intention is to give a bit more variety. And when you take a look at what the minimap does, it's why did we put it? It is to facilitate the navigation of the attacker.
Yeah.
So when you rotate the camera back and forth, actually, one thing we noticed is the attacker can quickly become disoriented and lose a lot of time trying to figure out where did he come from, where's the exit of this particular room. So even just within one room, within the heat of the combat, being pulled in different directions, turning your camera, it was very easy to get disoriented. So the mini-map actually has already a fog of war on it, and it only gets revealed as you're exploring. We try to put the distance that it reveals to be the same as the distance that you'll actually see in 3D. So it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio. It does not show enemy positions or trap positions, but it does definitely help the attacker to say, I've been here already, and this is not I'm actually backtracking. Whether or not he wants to go there, then that's up to him. But I think there will still be a possibility to create multipath castles because you can't actually see the room connection until you've traveled a fair bit into the room. So you don't, as soon as you get into a room, it's not like the whole thing is revealed. So I think there still is place for some multipath.
All right. Okay, good. So let's talk about another subject that was really like a big problem for a lot of people on the forums was the potion spamming.
Yeah, that's a good one actually. We've been, so I think the community's heard us talking about this for a while. We've heard their feedback saying that it's not fair that defender gets beaten when an attacker had to consume 20, 30, 40 potions and so on, and they're absolutely correct. It's not fair. We completely agreed. We wanted to take some time and do some data analysis and see how widespread of an issue is this. And when we actually took a deeper look at it, we looked at PvP castles, so player-created castles, across the different heroes, and we saw a lot of similarities. And it was actually anywhere between 1 to 8% of the attackers attacking same level PvP castles that would consume more than 3 potions. So based on the feedback we've gotten, we decided to put a limit on 4 potions.
All right. So why 4 potions?
So we actually explored different ways of addressing this. We had a couple brainstorms amongst the designers and say, do we limit the number of potions based on hero level? Do we limit it based on the size of the castle? And a lot of the solutions were getting into a little bit too complex, difficult to communicate to the player as well. So we decided to start with something simpler, a simple rule, and we prefer to build on top of that. So we're definitely open to feedback on this. We can tweak it, we can modify it, so it's there to be used and to give feedback on.
Well, it seems like people like it in the chat, so
that's great. Good
that's
to hear.
Already one good thing. So, all right, let's talk about another problem that we had was the castle timer. On some castles, it was just not long enough. On some other, it was just way too long. What did you do about it?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this change. I think this is going to bring in an entirely new dynamic and open up new options for both the defenders and the attackers. So what we did is we've introduced a dynamic castle timer. But before I go into the details of what this is, just to make sure everyone knows how the castle timer works as it is now in Pack 16. So the castle timer is purely based on the castle's level. So that means as soon as you upgrade a creature which levels up, essentially, your castle timer is increasing, and the defender might not have had a chance to place defenses that will take advantage of that increased time. So it's kind of forcing the defenders to put a lot of snare mines, at least, especially when you're higher level as a defender, to properly be able to defend. I mean, there's not many viable choices available, so you're like stacking anything that slows the attacker. And on the other side of the problem, at low level, we've started seeing more and more castles that were around level 9 with 255, 300 defense points, which were just the attacker could not complete in the amount of time that he had. So I'm really happy to say that in Pack 17, we've integrated what's called a more dynamic timer, and it's calculated based on the amount of defenses that are actually placed within your castle. So if you have, let's say, 200 defense points, you'll have your castle will have a certain time to beat. If you only have 50, it'll have a certain time, and that's regardless of the level of your castle. The level of the castle plays a very small portion on that timer. Type of thing that it's the first pass. We're going to need a lot of feedback to see, did we get it right? Did we go a little bit too drastic, not drastic enough? We're going to be taking a close look at the data, but we definitely need some feedback on fine-tuning those values.
All right, good. So with that, like somebody's asking on the forum, like on the chat, did you add more creatures in the update? So yeah, they're actually the ones that the player actually unlocked with the lootathon. And there's also the other ones that we said should be in Pack 16, and then we had a problem, and they'll be in Pack 17. So.
Yeah, that's right. We have the IMAX and the Crushulator, so the elite version of the floating eye and the big crab, which were supposed to be unlocked, that are now unlocked. I confirmed they're unlocked in 17, as well as Lord Marleybone, which is a boss, unlocked at level 26, and the corrosive mine at level 20.
Yeah, and corrosive mines as well.
Yep.
So yeah, we want to see what you guys are going to do with that, and we can't wait to see that.
Yep.
Okay, so that being said, we still have some attention to what we've done with the game balance, because we're just like with every other patch, we're doing a little bit of game balancing on this one as well.
Yeah, we're always working on the game balance. So this pack in particular, we gave ourselves a couple of objectives because it's, game balance is not one setting that we can adjust and magically fix everything. So we're giving ourselves little objectives that are feasible within the time we have for a pack. So in this particular pack, we focused on the mage and archer. We did notice that at different level ranges they were not on par, so they were underpowered compared to the knight. So we took two specific measures to address this. First of all, the skills. We've noticed that especially the mage and to a lesser extent the archer were always relying on the same couple of skills to get themselves out of the attacker was equipping themselves with those same skills. The mage would always take Vortex Rift, for example.
Vortex Rift, yeah.
So we've tried to make some of the other skills more viable. For example, the Chain Lightning has had its damage doubled. The Fireball as well has had a nice increase. And I think the next big thing that a lot of players will be happy about is the Mage and Archer also, they move faster. So we've increased their movement speed a little bit. And I think that will have a nice effect. So we're going to be keeping an eye again on the feedback of those changes, because those are they can be some delicate changes.
Yeah. About that, like people are complaining already about like some skill that can be fired through walls. So that's something else that you've done something about.
Yeah, that's another objective we wanted to address. It's just not fair for the defender when you can target, his a bunch of sleeping creatures that are on the other side of a wall. There were a couple of spells. I think the archer had he can throw his volley of arrows through the walls, for example. The mage, same thing. So we've adjusted this by putting a line check, so a line of sight check. So you have to see your target. However, you will be able to throw your spell through an obstacle or a pillar, but not through a solid wall.
All right.
So that should be interesting.
All right, and another thing that a lot of people are complaining about is the Scorpio. So.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of the Hungerbot Scorpios combinations in the player castles, and I mean it's understandable. It's a really good combo. At the same time, it's pretty much the one of the only combos that, and we're finding it's becoming an excessive dominant strategy, especially when it's being used to pull the attacker in to trigger 3 defense zones worth of creatures. So it's a type of challenge that we think isn't necessarily fun, especially counting on the attacker to do one misstep and essentially killing him through a successive bunch of pulls that will quite literally drag him across the entire castle. So we don't want to completely address this issue, because it's a lot of fun to watch in a replay. It's a lot of fun to set up as a defender, but we want to put a little bit more skill to the defender. So it is still possible to get chains with certain creatures and certain traps. However, just doing an endless chain of Hungerbot and Scorpio pulls, we've implemented something called chain stunning resistance. So this is a temporary fix, because in the next pack we're going with a more thorough stun resistance framework. So the quick fix that we were able to do in pack 17 is when you do get pulled or knocked back for that matter, the hero will become immune for just a couple seconds to the next pull. So that means that if you have 3 or 4 Hungerbots that are all trying to pull you, the first one will pull you, and then
not the 2 other ones. All right.
That's right. At least for those couple of seconds.
Okay, cool. But so this chain stunning was kind of one of the few viable strategies that to kill attackers at high levels.
Yep.
So are you not concerned the game will generally become easier?
Yeah, it's a very valid point. I think the game difficulty is one that I definitely I want to talk about. I want to address. You have on one hand, at high levels, most of the attackers can just breeze right through the defenses with almost no difficulty or very little difficulty, and so the defender is forced to set up these defenses that are based on the attacker just doing one misstep and killing him. We want to address this. We want to give more tools, more options to the defender. We are working on different tools to give to the defender. However, on the other hand, at low levels, the game is extremely difficult. It's very hard for low-level whether it's a knight, archer, or mage, to be able to defeat same level PvP castles.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I mean, there's a number of reasons why that is. They essentially they don't have enough resources to acquire the blacksmith gear. They also don't spend enough time at each level, so the loot that you acquire becomes obsolete fairly quickly, and
Yeah.
we're not generous enough with the loot drops. However, we really want to fix these low-level frustrations and these difficulty spikes, and sometimes fixing these means that those fixes will inevitably spill over into the high-level content,
Okay.
which makes that high-level game even easier. So we do want to fix the early levels first. That's our foundation, and once we fix that and we're happy with how it feels, then we can go and add more depth, add more tools for the defenders, and get all that high-level content sorted out.
All right. You were talking a bit about changes to items. So can you tell us a bit more about that? What's coming with this pack?
Yeah. So actually, I think most players will be happy about this. So when we introduced the random magic item properties in pack 17, we didn't do any adjustments for the quality of the item. So that means if you would, it would purely be based on certain minimum and maximum values. And we saw the feedback in the forums. It was possible to loot a legendary or epic item that had some pretty bad stats. So what we've done actually is we now determine the item stats, so the minimum and maximum values based on the item quality. So that means that legendary and epic items will definitely have
better stats.
better range. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, while we're talking about items, it's not the only thing that we're working on. That's what we were able to release in pack 17. But we're also working on making epic items more epic, such as having special item properties that will proc when you're hitting. You know,
Alright.
being able to spawn like fireballs, or just going in and get some spells that are tied to items.
All right. Do you have any idea when that's gonna come out?
Yeah, we're aiming for the next pack, so pack 18.
I mean, but that can still change depending on, like, if it takes too long, that kind of stuff. All right.
That's
So
correct. It's looking good right now.
good, good. So another thing we can talk about that people were waiting for a long time is the chat system. So as you can see, we have something in that version, but it's not exactly ready as of yet. So can you explain to us a bit more?
Yeah, so we've introduced a public chat, so it allows you to chat within chat channels. We have 3 channels, and we're supporting English, French, and German chat channels. So for now, we're only releasing it to one region. We're only releasing it in Canada.
Canada, yeah.
We're doing this is to be able to load test the server and just gradually see how does it respond to the players. We have some concerns with spam issues, so we're going to see how that works out. And if everything works well, we're going to be rolling out to the other regions shortly.
So yeah, the thing is, it's not gonna actually need another pack to roll out for the other countries. It's like if it works, you can just roll it out. But it's still gonna take a few weeks anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
All right. So I guess that's about it for the moment for the new stuff that's coming right now. But now we can answer all of your questions, guys. So go ahead, ask us. So no friend chat. Somebody is asking. Dextro.
Yeah. So we're actually. So the first iteration of the chat system was to deliver a public chat, so you can chat with anyone, friends and non-friends. And we're also working on a private chat system, which will essentially be like a messaging system between friends. So that's going to be coming afterwards.
Oh, something we didn't talk about, but that's coming with that patch as well, is I'm Bing and Scary say, can we still search and attack farm castles for money, experience, and loot?
So we're starting to make some changes to address the derp farming, chicken farming, any kind of farming actually, and there's actually our first step towards this exploit, and I call it a first step because it's not a magic bullet. It does not fix completely the problem. We are handling what we call targeted attacks differently than normal attacks, which pass through the matchmaking attack selection screen. So essentially, if you're attacking a castle by entering
The
let's say
name.
someone's profile
Yeah.
name and attacking his castle through there, or attacking a friend's castle, the rules of that attack will be governed differently. So actually, you won't get any loot, you won't get any XP, you won't get any crowns, you won't steal any resources. However, if you're attacking through the matchmaking system, which is basically the floating castles that you see in the different regions, those will be the regular rules as you know it.
All right.
So it is still possible that a farming castle shows up in the matchmaking environment, and we're going to be getting to address that shortly after.
All right. So okay. So.
But I do want to mention though that a big part of the reason that I think that players are going to the farm castles are obviously to get better loot.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to start seeing in Pack 17 is some of that those better item properties. So you should be more satisfied when you have a feeling of happiness or satisfaction when you do find an item, since we've improved the item properties. And as well in Pack 18 we will be giving a boost to the drop rates and to the quality of the items in general. So I think those are nice things to look forward to.
All right. So people won't have to rely that much on farming anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just saw a question on how this is going to work for the revenge attacks. The revenge attacks will be considered normal attacks. However, there is a specific rule that happens with the revenge attack. It's that it's once you've taken revenge from your battle log, you won't be able to take revenge again until that person attacks you again. So it's kind of a revenge and a retaliation.
Okay. Somebody's asking. Bas Mendere is asking, will all creatures have individual abilities like NPC? Oh, like for example, can you have like a puppeteer with Rager and Rager, or medic or raising hell in the same castle?
So right now it's not possible, but I think the question is why don't we allow that to
Yes.
player? So essentially it's something that I think we could look into. Initially, we had made a decision not to allow that for a couple of reasons. One of them being the legibility of the attack. We felt it was more readable to be faced with a particular threat. However, I know I see a lot of players asking for the opposite, so I think it's definitely worth exploring. The other reason was that we had some potential technical constraints related to minimum spec machines. Since, as you know, when you choose a different specialization, the 3D model does change, and having all these different 3D models can have an impact on the minimum spec machines. We do it in some PvE castles, so maybe there's some ways we can get around it. However, in the PvE castles, we use it in a kind of a dosed fashion, so we make sure that we don't go crazy with too many different types of creatures that will bust the minimum spec.
Wouldn't that be also a problem for game balancing?
It could get tricky, but I mean, if it's something that a lot of people are asking for, I think it merits our investigation at the very least.
All right, fair enough.
I saw a question about the price of the Castle Heart.
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's something that we're looking into. Already in Pack 17, we've made a big change in the type of currencies that are being used. So we've had a small shuffle from certain buildings that cost gold, other buildings that cost life force, and the Castle Heart had a big gold coin price tag. And part of the reason at low level is you get hit with this big price tag in gold, and you just don't have any gold left over to upgrade your blacksmith, to acquire some items, to equip yourself with extra potions. So we've done a shuffling. So it's a first pass of the shuffling, and I think it'll help smooth out the grindiness that you feel whenever you have to upgrade the Castle Heart. And then we're still looking at other ways that we can smooth out that grindiness that's going to come in future packs.
All right. Somebody's asking. I've seen a question about considering clans guilds leading to co-op raids. Are we?
Yeah. So we are working on a design for clans. Unfortunately I can't share much because we have not ventured very far into the design of the clans.
Okay.
But we do want clans. We want to support clans. Not sure exactly to what extent, but definitely there will be a clan system one day. And as for co-op, I mean, we want to focus on the game as it is today, the asynchronous of the game. So once we get that nailed down, then we'll look at other ways.
Okay. We're kind of having a little problem with our game right now.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
back.
we got a network error, but okay, that's the test version. So, okay. Somebody's asking, can owners remove add the shield to the castle? Something
Yeah,
that's
I know. I think some players have heard us talking about it for a while now, and it's something that gets asked a lot about. So, just to explain why do we have a shield? I mean, some castles have a. I mean, most players are not able to do a very lethal defense or an exceptionally good defense, and these castles are at the mercy of being raided over and over again. So we decide to have a shield which prevents their resources from being stolen. However, initially we started off with a 6-hour shield. We saw it wasn't enough, so we increased it to 12 hours. But it did have a side effect. The players that are a little bit better at the game felt like they were being cheated out of potential victims, because they do want to see people that attempt to attack their castle and potentially fail, or even if they're looted, they still want that satisfaction. So I can confirm that in the next pack we will be delivering an option that lets you manually disable the castle shield.
All
so
right.
That's coming in pack 18.
So next pack, manually disable the shield.
Yeah, it's finally
Right.
coming.
Okay. So are there plans to put in more creature types and more varied abilities?
Yeah, actually, we're working on some new creatures. It's still a bit early, but I hope that in the next pack we can get an all new creature that has never
Been there.
seen before, not from the alpha, not from any early version. So I think it's going to come to a surprise, as a surprise to the players. Anytime we introduce a new creature, we challenge ourselves as designers to see how can we add some depth to the specializations, so that it won't cannibalize other creatures, but it will actually complement them. So it's always a challenge getting in some new creatures, and we want to make some visually impressive creatures as well that evolve. So we're working on it. Yeah.
All right. What is the design plan for bosses? We have only seen them become easier. Is this the expected design path for bosses, or are they going to become more viable to be a boss creature?
We definitely want them to be viable. I think I think we really have to ask ourselves the question of is it a viable strategy to be able to have three Pete Poundmores in your boss room rather than one boss creature. So it's something that we need to take a good look at. We have not revisited bosses for pack 17.
Okay.
As far as I've seen, we don't plan to do it for the next pack as well. However, we did do I believe it was in pack 15 or 16, we did a pretty significant change to bosses, in the sense that we tried to make them a little bit more of an intense fight, but over a shorter duration. Because whether or not you had a boss had a huge impact on the castle timer. So it's we're definitely open to feedback on that one.
Okay. Did you add skills to the Knight Archer? No, I don't think we added skills. Do we plan on adding skills at some point in the future?
Definitely at some point in the future. We've been kicking around the idea of having maybe some passive skills as well, to give a little bit more depth to the heroes, but it's not something that's part of pack 17, and at least not for the next couple of months.
All right.
But it's definitely in our plans. It's definitely in our intentions.
So Highlander STL is asking, can we specialize by unit, not by type, so it's not so predictable? We actually answered that. So for the moment, it's not something we're doing or we're gonna do, because it takes a lot of processing power on the cheapest configurations that are running the game. But if enough people are asking for that, and it seems like more and more people are asking for that, we might investigate that and try and get some trick to make that go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I saw a question as well about the specifically regarding the Scorpio
Yes.
and shield combo. I believe it was a tier 4 or the fourth version, so I have to look into that one specifically. I don't have the information with me to say if a change was made or not. The stun resistance change will have an impact on the Scorpio. However, that particular combination with the shield, I'm not familiar with. I'll have to look into that.
All right. I saw a question by Voltsicle asking, why did you remove so much alpha content? Why will you be putting all that content back in? For example, the different boss rooms, the photon cannon, Piranha Spike, falling wall, all that.
Some of it was technical reasons when we changed the way the creatures were made to have specializations. Required us to pretty much change all of our existing creatures. So, for example, I think you can still see some kind of old creatures that are still present. That when you upgrade them, they just don't change visually, and when you'll select different specializations, they won't visually change. So these are things that we're eventually going to be replacing. So there are some technical reasons why some of the content, like creatures, rooms, etc., did not make it from the alpha. There's also an intention to want to keep things fresh. But I mean, it's my intention. I mean, it's my hope that that players don't feel like there was more stuff in the alpha than there is now.
Yeah.
So it's if there is, I mean, then we need a serious look at what are we missing out from either on the gameplay side or on the artistic side, and see what we do to at least bring the essence or the spirit of those back into the game.
All right. Scrolls Adventures. Oh, is a YouTuber following us? I know him. He's asking any other aesthetic options coming. Themes are interesting, but he wants to place the heads of the attackers that died in his castle on spikes somewhere.
I'm not sure we'll be supporting that exact possibility, but definitely we're looking at different ways of letting the player customize his castle by releasing more themes and even other forms of customization down the road.
Yeah, are we thinking about maybe character customization as well?
Yeah, there definitely is some things coming down a little bit later that will let the hero customize his appearance. I'm not ready yet to talk about those details. We're still going to see when we can roll that out and exactly what are the limitations of that system. I don't want to promise something that I won't be able to deliver on, but definitely we are working on hero customization.
All right. So people are asking about the mage and the runaway. When will they be like released for free? We don't know yet. We don't really have a date yet, so we can't really tell you about that now. Sorry. Is derp farming getting addressed? Yes, it is. You won't be able to attack derp farm castles from their name once again. But all that, yeah, we're gonna say that again in the patch notes tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the new champion free for double O people? That's something we don't know yet, so we can't say. Alright. What are your thoughts about repeat attackers? I think we already had that question last month.
Yeah, it's actually it's something we're looking at. I mean, it's not an easy one to address because on one hand, from the defender's point of view, being repeatedly attacked until someone finally steals your treasure, it's not fair. The attacker is learning a strategy.
It feels like it's really a highly personal question. Some defender really don't care to be attacked like so much, but some really hate it.
Yeah, but it's I mean, having been attacked, multiple times, and finally having seen the person break through your defense, there's something that you feel kind of cheap about it as a defender. However, on the other hand, there's an immense satisfaction from the attacker's point of view of finally, retrying a challenge until he's able to beat it. So we're looking at the problem. I don't yet have a good answer to share with you, but we're definitely looking at different possibilities that doesn't, cheapen the experience for either the defender or the attacker.
Alright. Jelly Wall and Spike Tribes. Do you think about having different sizes or layout for them?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. So regarding the traps, we are doing. We have an internal prototype of a new trap system that's working on our internal servers, and we're playing around with it, and we're looking at ways of lifting the different restrictions that we have associated to traps. So the way that our vision with traps, and this dates from a while back, is actually that traps should always add noise to the combat, but they shouldn't essentially be a threat on their own. And we're actually revisiting this statement in
Yeah.
this prototype, and we're looking at ways of letting defenders combine traps, like for example placing a mine right next to a hamster wheel, or putting I don't know, a cannon that's inside a jelly wall, and letting players kind of come up with their own dynamic and creative combinations.
Okay.
And it's what we're seeing in the prototype is extremely promising. However, it definitely makes the game much more difficult, because considering that you can have enemies that are just messing around with the attackers during this challenge. So we just have to figure out a good way of doing it, but the intention is there, and we're going to be looking into that very closely in the coming weeks.
All right.
So yes.
Great. Can Zeke shotgun spread get enough? It's too tough for Knights to deal with. You need to get in close to kill, but you can't before getting 6 arrows to the face. Yeah.
We have not nerfed Zeke in particular, so no, that one is not.
It's
that
not
one
nerfed.
particularly is not nerfed. At least not in Pack 17. We can look into it if players feel that it's a problem. I haven't particularly seen an issue with it. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can get close to him, stun him, and deal with him. Like for example, you can charge him and then use a stunning blow and a smite, or you can pull him towards you and go around him and do a smite, or you can control that situation. But we can definitely take a look at it.
All right. How often do you take ideas from the forums?
So we're constantly looking at the forums. I mean, we're very open to the feedback. I mean, obviously, we want to do a lot of things. The intention is there on our side. We're constantly faced with a challenge of wanting to do everything, but having limited resources, limited time to be able to get it done. So we have to prioritize, and we have to pick and choose what will fit inside a pack. So it's not easy decisions, and we hope that the players feel like we are listening to them, or at least that some players feel like they're getting listened to, and others feel like they will get listened to, because I mean that's the purpose of a beta. We're there to get the feedback and generally improve the game, not just for one type of player, but for all type of players and all level ranges at the same time.
All right. Will we be able to customize creatures?
Okay, so I'm guessing the visual appearance of a creature. So we're looking into that. It's not something that we have on our short-term plans.
All right.
By short-term, I mean within the next couple of packs. But it's something that we could look into the feasibility of that. At the same time, we do want to maintain a certain visual integrity of the creatures to make sure that they are recognizable, while always being able to run on a minimum spec machine. So it's something that we can take a look at. I saw an interesting question about will the replay have a rewind button?
Yeah, rewind.
And I've seen that one a couple of times. It's a super interesting question, and one that I've actually asked myself, and it's purely for now it's purely a technical reason that we don't have a replay. So the way the replays work is they're not actually videos per se, and I'm sure our programmers will correct me if I misrepresent this, so I apologize to them in advance. But essentially, we're replaying the inputs, and it's so every input that the attacker makes is being played back by the game engine, and you're viewing those inputs as if it were an attack. And the difficulty with reversing the input is that we can do certain jumps to certain timestamps, but we just can't have or not easily have a rewind function.
Will we ever be able to have optional bosses and assign our own loot to them for other players to try and get?
That's super interesting. I really like that suggestion. We've been actually toying around with the design of how can we give a bit more customization to the bosses, and one of the ideas that we're playing around with, and it's still very early in the design process. Our intention is to let the players be able to put their own customizable abilities on the bosses. Again, it's just an intention we have. We'll see if we can make that happen sometime in the future. But I feel like it would really give a nice layer of variety at the end of a castle.
All right. Did you improve the graphics in the game? Yeah, I think we did actually. Pretty sure.
There's been some UI improvements. So yeah.
Are you going to put weapons special attack in the description, or is that something you want players to find out by themselves?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm really curious how many players know that different weapons have different behaviors.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're actually going to be streamlining in the next pack. So in pack 18, we're going to have a big push on weapon categories, weapon gameplays. For example, the knight has like a ton of different weapon categories, but most players just kind of gravitate towards the sword that just hits really fast. Whereas you have some others that will do like I think it does 2 cleaves and then it does a big hit or something of the sort. And so we definitely want to expose these to the players, either via a tooltip or some sort of a hint that this is this type of weapon, and we'll be focusing on 3 major weapon categories or weapon gameplays per hero. So that means the archer, the knight, and the mage will have 3 very distinct gameplays based on their weapon.
All right, pretty good. Are you going to improve the AI, especially the walk until you see the attacker again, preventing hiding in corners and things like? Well, there's kind of already like special techniques to kind of avoid that, just like putting, for example, traps in the corners. I know some players are already doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood the question.
The thing is, like, at the moment, like, when you grow pack, the creatures are just following you anyway, there's no other AI, the AI is doing that. And so some players are using the corners in order to get an advantage on that, and to attack only one monster at the same time, and the others are not attacking you.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I've seen that a couple of times where some of the creatures will kind of get stuck behind the other creatures, or they'll get stuck on the. Yeah, it's some things that we have to take a look at. If it's, I mean, we have to prioritize within all the other things we have to fix. So if it's something that is definitely a deal breaker or a big issue, I mean, we'll get it prioritized and we'll get it sorted out soon.
Okay. Okay, are there any bug fixes with this pack? I think we're doing bug fixes constantly, we're not waiting for packs to do that.
Yeah, that's right. There's been some bug fixes. I'm at a loss, at a memory loss to tell you specifically which bugs have been fixed, but definitely there's tons of bugs and a little bit of polishing here and there that go into each pack, and we just don't mention it in during the dev chat because we have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
I see an interesting question about the castle level.
Yeah.
Accidentally upgrading your castle level because this mechanic is not very exposed to the players.
Yeah.
So, for example, the way the castle level works is it's determined by the highest level creature that you have in your castle. So sometimes you'll go to the research lab, you'll upgrade your Cyclops or Snotter or whatever, and then your castle level will jump up by like 2, 3, or 4 levels, and it kind of puts you at a disadvantage because even though that one creature has reached a certain level, the rest of the defenses are not necessarily that level.
Yeah.
So we have some issues with the castle level, both in the way it's calculated, the way it's communicated. We do try and do a dynamic adjustment so that we look at we try and see if the castle has at least 50% of its content that's of that level before assigning it that level.
Okay.
And I mean, the attackers are faced with the same problem from the opposite perspective, in that they'll attack a castle of a given level, and it's not the same challenge. Sometimes it's too easy, sometimes it's too hard.
Yeah.
So it's things that we have to get. We have to sort that out.
All right. Why are there no curves like round rooms and hallways?
You know what? Unfortunately, I can't give you a good answer for that. I'm sure our more technical artists will be glad to answer that on the forums. I'm sure there's a technical reason for it, but yeah, sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, one last question, and then I guess we're gonna be good. So, when is the patch released? Tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow. We're not sure about the time, but that's not our last question. Yeah, tomorrow is the patch. The patch is gonna be released.
Yeah, that's not a proper last question.
No, it's not. So yeah, Voltical is asking about all those creatures that were in alpha and when are they gonna come back?
Oh yeah, like the coffin,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the confiscator.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a couple of reasons, like I mentioned earlier, why we got rid of some of these creatures. We so when we started integrating our new creatures with specializations,
Yeah.
we took that opportunity to work on the visual identity, visual integrity of our creatures, and some of them just didn't fit this. Others that since we were creating specializations and the visual changes with each specialization, it meant we had to redo a lot of creatures. So we just decided not to include some that we felt were either not interesting visually or not interesting from a gameplay perspective. But we do plan to add more creatures. We can definitely take some an essence or the spirit of a previous creature. If players thought was particularly interesting, we want to hear about it, and we'll find ways to incorporate that into the new creatures that we put out.
Okay. One last question. I think we already answered that before, but will we ever be able to open our inventory during castle attack?
Right now, it's not on the plans in the short term, but we are looking at ways of letting players have better control over their inventory management, because I think ultimately that's the issue, right? It's not necessarily that you want to equip a new weapon, because the duration of a castle is fairly short. It's just super frustrating when you find a legendary and an epic, and then you get that dreaded, like, you're out of inventory space, and they're so hard to come by. And we're going to give more tools to the players eventually to deal with that frustration.
All right. So that'll be all for tonight. Thanks everybody to have come and talk to us. It's cool. So see you next month probably for another Dev Chats.